Hello, everyone. Welcome to the HVAC 2.0 show. I'm Nate Adams, the CEO, and we are here tonight. We love discussing all sorts of different things. It's usually HVAC related, home performance related, building performance related. But at the end of the day, what we are is a technical sales process. So tonight we're going to run through a role play with Reedie driving the bus, which will be nice. I get to sit back a little bit and I'm just going to type. And then Abhi and his wife, Victoria, playing the homeowners for this. So I'm pretty excited actually to do this because we haven't done this enough yet. And it's like, this may seem kind of geeky and weird, but it's really important. Like you need to run through a couple of these with friends and family members before you really want to do it in front of clients, so that you feel comfortable with it and you don't
used to do role playing a lot on Monday nights with
we used to do it a ton
as they were learning the comfort consult process. And
we've been doing Monday night meetings since 2018. It's been a long time we've been doing these, and we changed it over to the show, back in March, but pretty similar. And Susie, I'm glad you're excited for a role play. It's kind of funny. I actually don't like them, but they are so important and critical to this that we're going to do it. So you'll also get to see how the software works and how it flows and whatnot. So that should be pretty nice as well. Just want to touch on the free quote stuff. I love this. Abhi's about to ask some tough questions. Buckle up. He's going to be answering the questions. Where were you Friday night at 6 p.m.? Anyway, these are the pieces of the free quote process. So there's the intake, which is the comfort quiz. We're going to touch on that. Education through email and video. We're not going to be doing that here, although it will be actually within the script as we do it. The script is very newbie friendly. Then there's data collection, which we're not going to do because this is mock. Likely load range, which is kind of a load calc, but it mainly shows you what the bottom and top might be. And then equipment and install options, we'll be taking a look through that and building that. Fingers crossed it works well, because that has been buggy as all get out and driving us nuts for months. And then the client report, if we get that far, maybe too much to knock out tonight. And then there's install manager report and ticket and closing ratio tracking. Now, Ted, do you want to take just 30 seconds on shoot it? Why am I blanking on this? It's average revenue per lead.
What would you like me to say about it?
I didn't prep you for it at all, so let me make an attempt. Sorry, I shouldn't have just dropped that on you. Normally I remember to prep you. So revenue per lead is a nice overall metric because it gives you an idea of both closing ratio and average ticket. So if you're looking for a KPI in sales, it's a really good one. So we don't ever want sales to feel smarmy or nasty, but they have to happen at the end of the day. If you don't sell stuff, you don't make money, you don't put food on the table, you can't employ people, you don't have anybody to work with. Like, things are bad. Things have to sell at the end of the day. They just do. In general,
one of the issues is that leads cost the company money.
Quite a bit, yeah.
And so if you're not tracking the revenue generated per lead, it's one of the very early. We had a lot of different ways of kind of measuring oil pressure and oil temperature and all of the, the making sure that the machine was running smoothly. And if it wasn't running smoothly, you look at different metrics and you say, okay, so what changed? And one of the things that's nice about revenue per lead is it isn't biased based on number of leads. Because if you've got one guy who's getting 50 leads a month and he's only doing $3,000 worth of revenue per lead, that's $150,000 of revenue for those 50 leads. And somebody who's only getting 30 leads a month but is selling $6,000 revenue per lead is doing 180. So he's taking 30 which if they cost $500 a piece to generate, that's, $15,000 worth of leads. Do I have my math right? And
yeah, well, you're in that ballpark. Like that's expensive.
it's
leads generally
expensive.
cost $300 to $800 a piece.
Okay, so
And
if he's taking 30 and turning it into 180, then 180 less 15,000 is 165 that they have to work with to buy all the materials, pay the labor, and have some profit left over for those 30 leads. Whereas the guys that are taking 50 leads and doing 150, that's $25,000 off the 150. So that's 125,000. It's just
it makes the business a lot harder to run if you don't know that number.
Yeah.
So
keeping track of revenue per lead, it really helps you understand how your guys are doing and who might need help to tighten their skills up.
Yep.
Or at some point, you might have to say, hey, this probably is you.
And it's also recognizing
you might need to find another job.
Yeah. It's also recognizing the additional levers you have in your business to increase profitability, because, a lot of people kind of view that, oh, if I need to make more money with the same amount of leads, then the only thing I can do is just increase price. Well, we all know what happens if you increase price too much, then you start losing closing ratios and such. It kind of puts you into perspective as to what areas you might want to focus on to increase profitability, but not have to increase your prices.
Well, if you increase your closing ratio, then you don't have to increase price.
Yeah.
If you increase your average job size, you don't have to increase price. And both of those things tie nicely into revenue per lead.
Yep, exactly. So, and just for ballpark, like $3,000 is okay. $2,000, somebody should get let go. 7 or 8 grand is really good. So just to kind of give you an idea, like, I always like to understand spectrums. What's the bottom? What's the top? So $2,000 is kind of the bottom end of revenue per lead. You can get beyond 8, but 8's pretty fat. I
think Jeff, when he was doing nothing but comfort consults, was around 14.
He was, yes.
So the one thing that we found, everybody that's like, oh, wow, well, then maybe what we really want to do is comfort consults. And in the beginning, Reedie was selling 30% comfort consults. And what we found subsequent to releasing the free quote process is that because it does such a nice job of helping the salesperson responsibly avoid responsibility and document, that people with high comfort quiz scores that still aren't really inclined to have a comfort consult end up not being sort of led into buying a comfort consult. And so, so we think, and so we think the real number of comfort consults is going to be more like 10 to 15%. Would you agree with that, Reedie?
Yeah, that's right.
So when you have a sales process that allows you to really position yourself so that you are providing really excellent education to the consumer and helping them understand their assumption of risk for decisions that they're going to make, some of the benefits of doing the comfort consult no longer exist.
Exactly. And that's kind of messed with our minds.
That kind of messed with our minds. So it's a 10 to 15% instead of a 25 to 30% conversion. But by the same token, it looks like the average revenue per lead on free quotes has gone up a fair amount. Would you say that's true also, Reedie?
Definitely.
Because of the smiley faces and better education and just having a process.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So there's my
there's your bit.
My riff.
It's key.
Was that what you were hoping for?
Yep. Revenue per lead. It's a really critical metric to keep an eye on for business health. It doesn't mean there's anything smarmy or anything about that. We need to sell stuff enough that our marketing costs aren't crushing us. Um,
Well,
uh,
if you're profitable, you can actually be focused on the needs of the homeowner because you're not drowning. Like a drowning man is a dangerous person to approach.
they'll drag you down trying to, yeah.
They'll drag you down trying to climb up.
That's exactly it. Well, so, and this is a really key point here too, heating and cooling services is making. If you increase job to a point that it takes more time in busy season, it can negatively affect profit margin. Absolutely. And so that can be part of the challenge is this ends up pushing a lot of jobs from 1 day to 2. Although really a lot of good installs should really border on 2 anyway. But your second point there, bigger jobs can be done in slow season. Absolutely. Because a lot of the people that want the bigger jobs are probably planning ahead, and you can get their equipment to limp along until, well, now, frankly, this is one of the slow seasons when air conditioners aren't working nearly as hard as they were earlier this summer. All right, so this is my first attempt at a Venn diagram for free quote. And so there's a couple of different things. There's education, specifically client education. You want to give them just enough information so that they can at least begin to make a decent decision. And the goal here is finding the best solution for every client. Whether that's a simple replacement of single stage all the way up to a really advanced retrofit. 2.0 can handle the whole spectrum, but for the most part, things are going to run towards the bottom side, the easier stuff. And I mean, you can make some minor duct modifications, downsize the equipment, and life gets good. So education is a piece. Responsibly avoiding responsibility is a piece. So like this is offering duct pressure testing, because we all know that external static pressure leads to a lot of equipment failures. And so if you offer to test that at the free quote and they decline it and they sign off that they don't want it, on the report that comes out the other side of this, it says that client assumes responsibility. Because if you got the wrong thing in there, it's just not going to work right. And then consistency
we
is
should
what we're
probably
talking
let
about.
people see this.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're going to do that
Cool.
next. Consistency. All right.
Oh, you had a presentation first. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Okay.
no, not much. Honestly, we're good. So we're going to be talking about the 6 functions built in underneath all this. But let's scoot over to Abhi and Vicky and have Reedie do the interview. So I'm going to be running the software on my end. So Reedie, you tell me if you need something from me. If I'm not doing something that you want. But for starters,
the only thing I need is to see on the screen is the
details. Oh, well, you can see it there.
Can you see it?
I'm sharing it. Can you see it?
Yeah, I can just see 4 questions.
Yep.
Not the
and I created a client for Abhi.
Okay. Well, if you can take me to the questionnaire.
Let's go.
What are you going to say?
I was going to ask okay, so you go straight to the questionnaires.
Well, we need to start there because we're showing up at the house.
Okay.
Right. Okay, here we go.
Right on.
I'm going to knock on the door. You open the door.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, my name is Reedie, and I'm from Comfort Services. I'm here for your free quote. Is that right?
Sounds about right. My name is Abhi. This is my wife, Victoria.
All right, it's good to meet you, Abhi and Victoria. Can I come in?
Of course. Come inside.
All right. Is there someplace comfortable that we could sit down for a few minutes?
Yeah, we got time. Let's sit down by the couch here.
Okay, awesome. Did you read the What to Expect email about today's visit?
Yeah, I did.
I don't think I did. No.
Yeah, I did, and I don't think she's had the chance to do that yet.
Okay. Well, we'll go over that in just a second. How long do you set aside today for this? So I want to be able to respect your time, prioritize what we do.
My schedule is pretty flexible, right? You got something
Got a
going on?
couple hours.
Yeah, a couple of hours. Should be
All
okay.
right.
We're good.
All right. Well, we should not be that long. Do you
Let's go
mind?
for
I
it.
know you really didn't answer the questions on the quiz. Do you mind if we go and look at those?
Yeah, now that, yeah, can the both of us do this now?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we're going to go there. All right, so we want to answer these from 0 to 10. 0 is not a problem at all. 10, it's a big problem.
Mhm.
Sometimes it could be somewhere in the middle as well.
Okay.
So, are parts of your house uncomfortable or sticky in the summertime?
What do you think, hun?
A little bit,
Uh,
but not much.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so I have to give you a number. Is that right? On a scale of 0 to 10,
Yeah.
0 being not a problem at all. I'd say 3. Is that fair? Yeah, about 3.
Okay. So, tell me a little bit about why you said it was 3 versus 2 or 1 or 9. What's the reason for the 3?
Well,
Uh,
sometimes when the sun comes in through the windows,
It does, yeah. So to give you some context, really, we moved here about a year ago, so we've been through one summer here, and based on experience from that one summer, it didn't seem like like the stickiness and wasn't that much of a problem. It could be that maybe it was just a problem. The summer was different from previous summers, but it didn't. Is that right? Doesn't seem
sounds
like
about
it's too
right.
much of a problem.
Okay. So describe the stickiness to me. Is it something that was just inundating you with stickiness, or was it every so often? Was it in the morning or in the
No,
night?
it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was only a 3. It's not that sticky.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, a time of the day, I don't know. Like I don't usually I'm out of the house, she's out of the house, so we don't notice it during the day. And yeah, probably in the evening times. I'm not quite sure. I'm sorry. Why is this important?
Well, the reason why it's important is because we kind of need to know if you've got a problem with stickiness or hot rooms or humidity. What we want to
Right.
do is we want to be able to solve that. And if it's not that big of a deal, then it's not that big of a deal. But if it is, then we need to know about it.
Right. Yeah, I
But it
don't think
doesn't seem like it is that big of a deal to you.
No,
no, not that we've noticed, right? Is that right?
it doesn't seem like it. No.
No.
Okay. So the next question then, have you been there in the wintertime?
Yeah, we did spend a winter here.
Full
Well,
winter. Okay.
Yeah.
So did you find any parts of the house that were uncomfortable? Maybe, colder rooms or even dry rooms in the wintertime?
I wouldn't say uncomfortable.
I would. I get
Yeah,
cold easier.
that's true.
There could be a little bit of a chill sometimes.
Yeah, but not uncomfortably so. Like maybe some. I think one of the rooms, like upstairs, is a little colder than where we are sitting here now.
Okay.
But I wouldn't.
And the
Yeah,
floors can get a little cold.
yeah.
Hmm.
See, I don't notice. I don't notice these things.
So are the floors colder as soon as you wake up? You've been under the covers, it's nice and warm, and then you get out of the bed and you
Oh,
kind
for
of
sure.
stand on
It's
the
the
floor.
worst getting out of bed.
Okay. What about the rest of the day? Does it seem okay during the rest of the day?
Well, I mean, it's hard to tell because, socks and slippers and things help.
Okay. Well, what do you rate that as? We went a 3 on the first one. It's not that big of a problem, but it's a little bit. What do you rate this on?
Uh, you know, like we've managed, right, fairly well
It's not too bad.
last winter.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'd say probably a 4 on a scale of 10. You think?
Yeah. Cold
Yeah.
is worse
Okay.
than hot.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's true. So, um, I just want to hit one more thing on this. You had said that the room upstairs is a little bit cooler.
Hmm.
Well, tell me about that. Does it mean anything to you that it's a little bit cooler?
Well, it does. I mean, like you're saying, it's hard to get out of bed in the morning sometimes when it's cool, a little cool outside, right? Then, or it's cooler in the bedroom than it is the rest of the house, and we only have one thermostat. And so we set it to, I don't even remember now off the top of my head in the winters, but we set it to some temperature that feels warm when we're here having supper in the evenings. and we go to bed, and it's cool, and I like it a little, cooler when we go to bed. And then you wake up, and it's, like sometimes it's hard to get out of bed when it's nice and
Freezing.
cozy in bed and it's cold outside. So I'd say
I
that's
see.
is that fair?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, that's helpful. So let's go to the next question. It says there are health concerns in my home, my family,
Yep.
such as allergies, asthma, mold, dust, pest, chemical, mold sensitivities, that kind of thing. If you think about it, you can read it on the email. You can see what it says. We breathe about 3,000 gallons of air every day, and
Every
mainly
day?
we're in home every single day. Every
That's
person.
a lot.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
So think about that. If we're breathing that, and we're mainly in our houses when we do that, if
Mm,
we've got a problem with dust or chemicals or mold or something like that, this can take an effect on our health.
right.
Childhood asthma has been linked to damp buildings. And
I
so
see.
the reason, go ahead.
No, so we don't have children. It's just the two of us here for now.
Right.
But one of the things we'd like to do is we have a in-law suite downstairs, and then we like my parents who have never been in North Carolina before. They live in India, which is where I'm from, and her mom who lives way up north in Canada. So we want them to come move in here with us. So into the in-law suite. And so any health concerns around the stuff that you described would probably, like being that they're seniors, would affect them more than it's not a concern for us, but it might be a concern for them.
I see. So when it comes to changing your filters,
Hmm.
how often do you do that?
We haven't changed it since we moved here, if I'm being honest with
No.
you.
Really?
I'm not really up on that whole maintenance stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's easy
Sorry,
to forget.
we're supposed to, I think, right? They said, what is it, once every year, a couple of years, something like that?
No, if it depends on the kind of filters you use.
Hmm.
You need to keep an eye on them. If they're dirty, you
Right.
need to change them. If you want better indoor air quality, you might want to change those filters.
How do you
When
tell when they're dirty though?
Well, if you look at them,
Hmm.
some of the filters come and they're white, and so if you
Mhm.
look at them and it's gray or black,
Mhm.
it's well past time to change
Okay.
them. Um, the reason why I'm going back on this is because if your parents are coming to live here
Mhm.
in the summertime, in the springtime in North Carolina, when the pollen opens up on the trees, and you saw this last summer,
Oh
it's
yeah.
clouds of yellow
Right.
and on your car, and that stuff gets in your house too. So
Uh,
my wife, she's got sinus problems, and I never had any sort of sinus problems until I moved to this state, and it's
Mhm.
because of that.
right.
So where do you fit on this scale? 0, it's not a problem. 10, it's a big problem.
Definitely higher up than we want people to, be able to breathe and not be sick from the air.
Yeah, I'd say 6.
7 maybe?
I think
Because
7.
they're old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd go that high though, because I mean, we don't know, right? Like when and how and
True.
this that. It's just the two of us here for the most part, and if they do come here, it'll just be. It won't be. Yeah, it'll be. It won't be. I mean, we plan. The two of us plan on living here for the rest of our lives, and we'll be here for a very long time. So I'm
Well,
planning
let's
for
put it
that.
as a 6 then. What do you say about that?
Sure, Sounds
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
That works.
Okay.
By the way, to break the fourth wall for 1 second, apologies. Sometimes when I get the conflict on this, I take whichever one's higher, and then I write down what the score was for the lower person.
Okay.
That's usually how I handle it when there's a conflict. When I did this for my cousin and his wife, there were 3 different questions where one was a 9 and the other was a 2.
Oh God.
I'm like, all
problem
right,
for
I'm taking the
someone.
9s because those 9s need to affect the project design. Anyway, back out.
All right. So, last question. There are moisture issues in my home. We might have mold or mildew in the attic, the basement, or the crawl space. Sometimes my gutters overflow. Sometimes there's standing water against the foundation, and I've seen rotted wood. How do you stack up on that?
Well, there's definitely musty smells and maybe sometimes a bit of like a growing moldy smell when it's really rainy out.
I don't know if I've noticed that.
Oh, well, that's because your nose is terrible. It's definitely a musty smell when it's extra rainy. It very
Okay.
much.
Okay.
So
yeah.
do you notice that when it's extra rainy? Do you notice whether it's on the top floor or whether it's downstairs?
I think it's when we
Lower area,
yeah.
kind of. Yeah, it's definitely like kind of lower area.
like when we
All
walk
right.
in.
Yeah. Mhm.
So have you ever seen any mildew or anything like that in your bathrooms?
No, I don't know. I wouldn't even know what that would look like.
I don't think I've seen much. There was one time when like a bit of like the plastic rubbery thing was getting all moldy and and then we fixed that. But
Right.
that's about
Okay.
it.
All right. So where do you stand on this issue? Where do you think you fall into this 0 to 10?
What do you think? You noticed it?
Well, it's probably also not good for air quality for the whole parents thing. So I'd say it has to be at least the same as that 6 because that's probably causing air problems.
Yeah, but I mean, I haven't really noticed it, so I don't know. Is it? If you asked me and me alone, I'd say it was probably a 4. But
The 5 middle.
you're saying split the difference?
Split the difference. 5.
5.
Okay. All right. So is there anything else that you'd like to tell me about out of these questions that we've asked? Maybe you forgot. Anything you can think of?
Ah.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Well, you've got a total score of 18. The
Okay.
total score of 18, either a free quote or a comfort consult might be recommended.
I see.
You got a medium score.
Right. Is that
So,
good or bad?
well, it's right there in the middle. It's kind of like that 5 you just gave. You know, we've got a few videos I would
Okay.
like for you to take a look at.
Hmm.
If we can go ahead and do the free quote. We're here.
Hmm.
If for one reason or another you decide you want to do a comfort consult, we can do that. The free quote takes somewhere between 20 to 40 minutes. Comfort consult, it helps you kind of both better understand what it is you'd like to fix about your house. If there's anything, what your house might need to achieve those things that you want to fix, and what it might be worth to solve your problems. So
Hmm.
when we do that, we ask a lot of questions in the free quote, but when we do the comfort consult, we ask more questions and we run a test called a blower
Hmm.
door, finds out about how much your house leaks and where it's leaking at, and we'll run load calculations so that we can understand the right piece of equipment to put in your
Yes.
house. Um,
Oh, okay.
it's a little bit counterintuitive, but smaller equipment a lot of times leads to a better feeling house.
Really?
Yeah, it does. It's funny because,
Yeah. How does that work?
well, a lot of times what it will do, it will kind of match what you need in terms of heating and cooling. When we size for equipment here, we size for 99%
Hmm.
temperature. That means it's 95 degrees outside. And so ultimately what happens if you have a single stage piece of equipment, it's going to be running all or nothing, even when it's 80 degrees outside.
Hmm.
And that's kind of like you driving your car at
Yeah.
60 in the city, when you're supposed to be driving 30 or something like that.
Right.
You wouldn't do that because you'd get a ticket, but we do
Yeah.
that with our heating and air conditioning all the time.
Wow.
So if we decide to do the comfort consult, there's not going to be any selling that's going to occur. We're just here to look and find out some things. So
Okay.
let's go ahead and
Do
go
you
back
have to
over
come
this.
back for the comfort? If you want, can we just do the free quote now and then maybe we'll think about it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we'll go ahead and We can talk about that later. We're going to collect the information now that I need to get, if that's okay with you.
Yep.
It'll save time on our next visit, and we can know kind of what we need to know. I will tell you though is if you decide you're looking for a comfort console, if that's at all a possibility, then
Mm.
what'll happen is we'll kind of wait to send the bid because we want to get the right stuff. So
Yep.
before we go into that, are there any other concerns that you'd be hoping that this new system we're talking about might address?
Okay.
That's me. I'm asking you.
Oh,
Are there
sorry.
anything that you want better than there are now with this new system?
I mean, it'd be nice to be able to program it so it could be like warm at certain times and colder at certain times. So programming would be really good.
Yeah, we have a really old thermostat, so it doesn't, like
Mhm.
I have to manually dial it up and down.
Ooh, and maybe
Okay.
each room, we can have certain rooms be different temperatures than others.
You think so?
I don't know.
Sounds like a lot of work.
Look, there's nothing that says you can't be ambitious at the start, and then we'll find out what actually is possible and realistic.
Okay.
But he's just asking what we want.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all. That's all.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's go a little further with this. Do you mind if I ask you a couple other questions?
Go for it.
Okay. You already answered the first one. You've lived in the house for a year.
Yep.
And you've already answered the second one. You plan to stay here indefinitely.
Yeah, sorry, when I said that earlier, I meant in this area. I don't know about this house particularly.
At least for 5 years. I don't want to move again anytime soon.
Right.
Okay.
But,
All
yeah,
right.
we like
Well,
the area, but I don't know if this house is something we see ourselves in. It could happen. I'm not ruling that out.
Might not be the forever home.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, do you know when the house was built? It doesn't have to be the exact year, just sort of a ballpark.
I believe in the 1920s, something around there, 20s to 1920s, 1930s, something like that.
I have no
Okay.
idea.
Yeah.
I didn't
Any
pay
idea? Any idea about the square feet?
Oh,
Ballpark,
yeah.
okay.
Do you remember from the listing?
It was over 2,000.
I think it's like 2,400 or something like that, I think.
Definitely a decently sized.
Okay. All right. And I can see from the outside it's a 2-story house.
Yep.
Do you know if you have a basement or a crawl space?
there's a
We have a
basement.
basement. It's unfinished or partially finished, I should say, but definitely a basement.
There's some stuff down there.
Some stuff down there. Okay. So when we're thinking about this, when you moved into this place and since you've lived here, thinking about previous homes, are there any comfort issues that you want to avoid in this house?
Relative to like where we used to live before moving here?
Yeah, just based on your experience with, HVAC, humidity control,
Oh.
dust, cold rooms, hot rooms, that kind of thing.
Being noisy. I don't know
Mm.
if that's too big of a problem, but it can be distracting if it like fires on and goes really loud suddenly.
Okay. So by saying that, are you saying that this system that you have currently is noisy?
No, the one we were at previously was very noisy. So whatever we get now to replace
Just needs to be nice and quiet.
nice and quiet would be good.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Any other concerns?
I mean, I think what we liked about the previous place was kind of like just set it and forget it, right? We didn't have to we had to change the settings, I guess, between the seasons. But on a day to day, I didn't really. It was fairly comfortable all the way through. But here, I always find myself having to fiddle with it. But the thermostat, I mean. But I figure maybe it's because it's an old system. So when we bought the house,
I think the programmability will help.
right?
Okay.
Yep.
So when you turn it up and turn it down, mess around with the set points, is that something that you do because you're uncomfortable, or is that something you do because you want to save energy?
Oh, mostly uncomfortable. I mean, saving energy is kind of nice, but mostly because one of us, usually her, is a
But
little.
turn it up more.
Yeah, we'll
Too
turn it up
cold.
more, and then once she's not paying attention, I go turn it back down, and it kind of goes up and down like that.
I got you. I got you. Do you guys, either of you, work from home?
On and off, I do. I'm trying to just
Okay.
get out and about, not just be cooped up indoors for the most part, but I'd say about half the time,
Mhm.
at least twice a week, I'm home.
Yeah, they have good flex time.
Okay. All right. When you're at home, when you're working at home, where do you usually work
Just behind you, you'll probably see my setup, just off the living room.
at? Okay. So is that one of those spaces that you have that you feel like you're getting too hot or too cold and you have to turn the thermostat up and down?
Not during the day usually, because when she's not home, I just set it to wherever I'd like. It's just when I guess she comes back home, and like right when we're going to bed, and like on a day, when the weather sometimes changes on a dime, right? And so I just
Okay.
find myself always having to like just be reactive. It would just be nice to just like not have to think about it so much.
Okay. All right. Um, the next question, it says, do you have any noise concerns in this home? And when I asked you earlier, you said it wasn't really noisy, but you definitely didn't want it to be any louder than it
Yeah, I
was.
don't want a loud replacement.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Um, where do you set your temperatures at? Do you go um, colder in the night and warmer in the day?
Yeah.
How do
Yeah.
you? So tell me what those are. What's your morning set points in the summertime?
In the summertime, man, I don't know that I remember off the top of my head. I mean, we can go take a look there, really, but
Okay.
in the winters, I know that like at nights we drop it down to 70 Fahrenheit, right? And then
Around there.
yeah, and then during the day, on the weekends when both of us are home, we crank it up a little bit, and then like at the nights we crank it down to just like maybe a shade under 70.
Mhm.
If I'm remembering right, we can go take a look, but
Yeah.
I just know what the dial looks like and where I turn it to. I don't pay attention to the number there. You know what I mean?
In the
So,
vague range between
I
like
got it.
70 to
yeah,
74 or
yeah.
something, around there, give or take.
Okay. Um, so you just do that for comfort. I think that's what you said earlier. Just do it for comfort, not really for
Yeah.
energy reasons.
Nah,
No, I
Now,
mean,
it,
yeah,
so it
not worth
yes,
being busy
energy reasons, or
to save a few dollars.
I
yeah.
got you. Okay. Okay, I got you. Um, who in the home might have allergies?
Um, do
I
you
have
have?
some pollen allergies. It's not great in spring.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Um, any other times of the year, or is it just really spring?
I think sometimes in summer too, but it mostly clears
Okay.
up by fall and winter.
Now, have you tried anything in this house? Like maybe a better filter or opening windows or something like that.
Oh, well, like we said, we hadn't actually changed the filter. So we hadn't, but I
Oh,
do try not to have too many open windows when it's peak pollen season. Uh,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and you also have those.
All
What are
right.
they called? Yeah,
yeah. And there's allergy pills for the worst days.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Um, what about, does anybody have dry skin in the wintertime?
No, I don't think so.
Seems okay.
Okay. All right. Have you ever had any pest issues like mice, rodents, ants, insects of any kind?
Not really. We have a cat, as you can see from the
We
cat
have
tree.
yeah, we have a
Uh,
cat that
She takes care of most of that.
we haven't noticed any.
okay. All right. And you said it's sometimes it's smelly when it rains, and it was mostly on the lower levels.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do those odors, do they stick around, or I mean, is it something that
Once
lasts
you
hours upon
fly
hours?
outside, it's usually fine.
Yeah, and then I think it's just
Okay.
I only notice it, I guess, when you walk inside. Once we're in here, it
Okay.
doesn't seem that noticeable. And I don't know if it's just like me adjusting to it or what, but it's only like during some seasons or just
Okay.
like raining outside. So it doesn't seem to persist,
No,
right?
it goes away once it's not raining.
Right.
Okay. All right. Um, I can't see. Do you know right now what size of equipment that you have?
Oh God, no. No,
Okay.
No idea.
We'll find out.
It might say on the side of it.
Yeah, it'll say it in there. We'll find that out a little bit later on. So, at this point, were you planning on keeping the same size equipment, or do you want to go up or down a size?
Whatever would make things slightly better. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you said earlier smaller would probably um, be better. So I don't know. Like I don't know. I don't think I have a preference. Is it
I'm gonna
cheaper?
assume you're the expert here and can tell us what size we should have.
Well, the reason why I asked that is because later on you're going to kind of see um, there's going to be a range that
Hmm.
we can operate in, and why that's important is because we don't really want to get into putting in a piece of equipment that you have any concerns is not going to work right.
Right.
We want to make certain that that everybody's on board with everything. A lot of times when it comes down to it, the comfort console really helps us to tell that. And so
Hmm.
I'll do whatever it is you like to do, but we always want to give people the option to do one thing or another. So
Right.
that's where that came from. So
Yeah.
if you
So
had a magic,
no,
go
sorry.
ahead.
I was just gonna say we don't plan on adding additions or anything to this house, right? It's just
Yeah, the house is gonna
so
just stay
I
the
don't
same.
see us going bigger unless I guess you tell us
Yeah.
if that's what we need, because I mean we bought the house and we bought the house. The inspector said, the system is old, the heating system is, or the air conditioning system is old, getting up there in age, and so we thought, okay, let's live here for a year, see what that looks like, and then decide. So now we just want to replace. I honestly don't know if big bigger or smaller the way to go. I was kind of hoping that you would tell us, but so I don't think we have a preference, right?
Yeah, whatever works is
Yeah.
my preference.
Right.
Okay, so here's a good question. At this point, what you have, has it worked reasonably well?
Yeah, reasonably.
Yeah, I mean, I figured it's old, and I figured if we get a new one, it'll be better. Like, I imagine it's like a new car, maybe, right? You get a newer model, even if you get the same make and model. Sometimes they're nicer. So I thought that's maybe how air conditioners also worked.
Okay, so that leads me to this next question. If you had a magic wand, just imagine, close your eyes and imagine. I've got a magic wand. I could change anything about how I feel in my home. What do you
Right.
think that would feel like or look
Heated
like?
floors.
Heated floors.
Heated floors.
Good.
No, this is a
Anything else? What
pricey
about you,
question.
Abby? Give me some dreams here. Tell me what it is you're looking
Thinking, uh, I, yeah, I'm trying to think here, really. That's a great question. I just like I've this house is one of the bigger homes that I have lived in, and I just want to be able to not have to like feel like I'm walking through like three different climate zones when I go from like the top floor like to the basement. You know what I mean?
Oh
It
yeah.
just sometimes feels like I'm crossing the Mason-Dixon line when I'm going from my basement to my top floor because it just the house feels different. And so
So consistency.
right, so
That's a very boring dream to use a magic wand on.
yeah, what you get.
Okay. So if we change the equipment and everything stays the same as it is, you okay with that?
I mean, yeah. See, I think
We can live with it, but it's always nice to have things be better than they were before.
right,
Okay.
but I think my worry is I don't know. Like, what are we talking about? An extra for $20,000 for me to not So I just
That's true. If it's really expensive, we might as well just stick with what we got. But if it's only a little bit more to get more comfort, maybe.
yeah. So I don't know. Like, this is serviceable. I mean, who knows where we will be 5 years from now, right? And I don't know that I want to spend too much time and money into fixing things if we don't know if we'll be here for a while. So I thought, I can live with this, and then maybe once we decide if this is where we want to be, then maybe we can put more money into things. But
Mhm.
Okay. So sounds like you'd be okay if we put yes.
Sure.
yeah, sounds about right. I mean, we're
Okay.
happy with it,
All right. Have you ever replaced an HVAC system before? Do you have an idea of what they cost these days?
No,
Nope.
no idea.
Okay. Well, at the end of this, we'll have a better idea. Unfortunately, I don't know what they cost either, because what we're looking at is we're going to be looking at a range of things,
Okay.
features, functions, that sort of thing. So first things first, there's a quick, inexpensive test that we normally run, and it's called a duct pressure test. There was a video that I sent you, and you didn't get a chance to watch it. Can I show you the short video? It's about a minute long.
Yeah,
Sure.
sure.
All right. Here it is.
In 2019, by the way, can you all hear this?
Yep.
Yeah.
The Department of Energy mandated a more efficient type of fan motor in all new furnaces. This well-intentioned policy is causing problems only 2 years later. Here's why. Your furnace fan and ductwork function the same way your heart and blood vessels do. Blood pressure should be just right, but often it isn't. If blood pressure is too high, you could have a heart attack. On your HVAC system, blood pressure is called duct pressure, which is the pressure inside the ducts. The mandated motors are far more sensitive to duct pressure than the old type. If the duct pressure inside your system is just right, it will be quiet and use very little energy compared to the old motor. If duct pressure is too high, your new, more sensitive fan motor may be overworked and die in less than 3 years, which can cause an expensive repair. Even if the fan doesn't die early, they are often noisy and expensive to operate. Most systems have high duct pressure and carry some risk of early failure. If you are considering replacing your HVAC system, ask for a duct pressure test from your HVAC 2.0 contractor to understand your risk and how to reduce it.
All right. So that duct pressure testing, we offer it for $50 when we do a free quote. Is that something you would like for me to do?
I don't know.
I think they're probably fine. I don't think we need to.
Yeah, the
Okay.
inspector didn't say anything about the duct thing.
Okay.
He only said you might want to think about replacing the AC, but I don't know if we need it.
Okay.
Mm.
Well, if you will, just sign right there, and we'll be good to go.
Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
One more thing, if you don't mind, I'd like to show you just one more video. It's called
Yep.
the six things HVAC, 6 things every HVAC system should be able to do. Would you mind taking a little bit of time and watching this as well?
Sounds good.
All right.
If you're watching this, you're probably considering a new heating and cooling system for your home. A well-installed system is likely to last 15 to 20 years. If your new HVAC was a newborn, it would be graduating high school before you buy another one. If you choose incorrectly, typically the only way to fix it is to replace it again. That may sound scary, but you already know everything you need to know about HVAC, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning from your car. Every car with air conditioning can do 5 of 6 things that every HVAC system should be able to do, but most home HVAC systems can't do any. Let's take a quick look at what those are. First is load matching. By far, the most important factor in creating a comfortable space is matching the amount of heating or cooling the HVAC puts out to what the home or car needs at that moment. Every car can vary how much heating or cooling it puts out, as well as the fan speed. Meanwhile, over 80% of home systems are oversized single stage or single speed systems, meaning they are either on or they are off, making temperatures race up and down, which leads to poor comfort. Second is filtration. When you drive, there's a lot of garbage in the air: car and truck exhaust, pollen, road dust, and so forth. Your home needs to keep those same things out, plus filter out pollutants inside your home. Every car has a high-performance filter that helps reduce pollutants getting into your car. Most homes have mediocre filters with far worse performance, or the pressure inside the duct system is too high to use high-performance filters. Third is dehumidification. Typically, the most important factor in creating a healthy environment in your car or home is keeping the humidity in a healthy range. By pushing the AC button in your car, you can have dehumidification 24/7, 365, but very few homes have this capability. Keeping humidity levels in check reduces the spread of disease, helps prevent mold, mildew, and odors. And this is particularly important in spring and fall when the air is damp, but not much cooling is needed. Fourth is fresh air. Every car can bring in outside air and heat, cool, or filter it. This helps the air smell fresh. It reduces the spread of airborne diseases and is an important factor in indoor air quality. Few homes have this capability. Fifth is mixing. In your car, you can mix and stir the air to keep you comfortable depending on the season by sending it to your face, feet, or the windshield. Mixing the air reduces room-to-room temperature differences in your home and can provide continuous filtration and fresh air as well. Most homes have an inefficient fan motor that makes this noisy and expensive to do. Sixth is humidification. Adding moisture to the air is the only thing that your car can't do. Dry air is uncomfortable, it leads to dry skin, increased dust, and can promote the spread of viruses. Every HVAC system should be able to do these 6 functions: load matching, filtration, dehumidification, fresh air, mixing, and humidification. Every car can do 5 of the 6 functions of HVAC well. Most home systems can't do any. In case having control over some or all of these conditions is something you want your new system to be capable of, work together with your HVAC 2.0 contractor to choose the path that works best for you. If you'd like to learn more about the 6 functions of HVAC, see the HVAC 101 guide linked below, or ask your HVAC 2.0 contractor about it.
All right. Did any of your comfort quiz scores change? You know,
No.
we were at like 18.
No, although why don't home systems do more than car systems?
Yeah, that's a crazy
You'd
question.
think that the houses are bigger, they'd have more features.
Yeah. Well, it's because just what it said in the video. Most units are single stage and they're oversized. So that means they run at 100% capacity the whole entire time. And when they do that, there's no chance for them really to be able to dial back. And so
Maybe that's why the last one was really noisy.
Right. Yeah. Makes
Yeah.
sense.
yeah.
We would just
so
kick
you-
on once the place we used to live before, like you could hear it like turn on, and then it would just dump like a whole bunch of cold air or hot air, whatever, depending on the season. Then it would just shut off. I mean, eventually we got used to it, but
Mm-hmm.
it was pretty noisy.
Yeah. Well, all right. So I need to finish collecting some information that I need to do the free quote. If we do a comfort consult, then it'll take us, it'll save us a little bit of time. Do you guys think that that's something you're interested in, or do you want me just to go ahead and send the free quote and be done with it?
I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I think, how long does the comfort console take?
It typically is going to take somewhere between 2 and 3, maybe 4 hours. It just depends on what we get into
Do
and
we
how
both
many
have to be there
questions.
for it?
I didn't hear you.
Do we both have to be there for it?
I'll tell you, it would be better for you if both of you were there for the entire thing. It would be.
That is a long time. What do you
Yeah,
think?
I don't think we have the, not today, really, maybe, but if you send in the quote, we'll take a look, and then can we schedule it? If we need it to, I can call you back, and then maybe we can find a time for the comfort
Yeah.
console. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I don't know if we need it though. I'm just asking, just to be clear. But yeah, we'll take the quote for
We'll
now.
think about it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, like I said, we're not trying to say anything. It's a consultation, and the thing about it is that we don't want you to be dissatisfied one way or the other,
Right.
and we don't want you to be mad at us, and we want to have everything that we do be above board. So,
Yep.
is there anything else that you could think of that I might have missed, or anything you thought of while we were talking?
No, not really. I mean, you guys came well recommended. One of our neighbors said you'd be the one to call. So
All right. Well, I appreciate you telling me that. I'm going to go ahead now. It's time to take some measurements of the equipment. Can you take me there to where it's
yeah,
at?
do you? And I can just show you, and then you can take the measurements. Yeah, I don't need to be there.
Yeah, you don't have to come under there with me if you don't want to.
Okay. Right on.
All right.
This way, Mr. Reedie.
That was a great job, guys. Victoria, it was really I don't know, such a pleasure to see you interact on this as well.
No worries. Thanks.
Hey, you did better than Abhi, if you don't mind.
Abby's all like,
Wow.
"Whoa, really?"
I skipped theater class.
That's what
High
happens
school.
when you don't take theater in high school.
That's right.
She is both the beauty and the brains of this operation.
So what do we do next? Do we just skip right to Testy McTestface sales presentation, or
Let's just kick it to next week, man.
okay?
Same
So
bad time,
I
same
guess
bad
the
channel.
question, well, there are a couple of things that I see. One is Abhi and Victoria.
Mhm.
How soon were you hoping to make a decision about your equipment replacement?
Well, before anything breaks.
Okay, so you don't need to make it today. So you don't
No.
need my quote today. It's okay if I
No,
take
we're
it home
probably
and work
shopping
on it.
around. We're getting a few other quotes probably because that's what the internet tells you to do is get a few quotes.
Okay, so when do you think that you'll be, when are you likely to be getting your last quote? Because I want to make sure that I get mine in by then.
What do you think?
Probably by next week.
Okay, so if I get it to you by next Tuesday, that'll be fine.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's great. Thank you very much. I'll go down to the basement and take the measurements now.
Right on.
There you go. Yeah, next week we can show the measurements. But yeah, that is I'm glad you hopped in and just asked that, Ted, because that would be done at this.
Yeah,
visit.
one of the things that we've realized is a lot of times there's a go for the close attitude at these sales calls where they want to close you. So they're going to ask a bunch of closing questions, and the approach on our free quote is more, I'll give you a quote if you're in a hurry to make a decision. Otherwise, I'd like to take it home and sort of build a quote based on all the information you gave me in the questionnaire, and the things that I look at the things that I notice in the basement, because I'm going to give you a number of choices rather than just make one recommendation. And
So-
like as Victoria was saying, geez, if it's not that much more money to get a little bit nicer equipment, and you guys have now watched the 6 functions of HVAC video, so you know that some equipment can do some things that other equipment can't do, and the report is going to tie back to those functions and distinguish between basic equipment that can't do all 6 functions to better and better and better equipment.
Mm-hmm.
So Ted, if we had said, I'm just looking for a couple of quotes now, because in the event that the AC just stops working one day, I'd know who to call. Like, would your response be any different?
What do you guys think? That's a really good question.
I mean, no, I don't think it would be, because we're still going to give them the basic, the IRA, the better, and the best. The only thing that's going to change is if they decide that they want to do a comfort console.
Yeah,
Because
and I think if you said that to me, I
Yeah.
would probably jab you a little bit so that as I departed, you were feeling some pain about not knowing your static pressure.
How would you do that?
I would probably say something to the effect of, so this you're doing this more from a perspective of planning rather than something that you want to do urgently or right away. One of the things I might suggest to you is next time you have your equipment service, make sure that they take the static pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Because on the coldest day of the year, when your equipment does die and you want to pull that trigger quickly, you probably want to get it right. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Like you don't want to buy brand new equipment in the middle of February and then realize by May that you got equipment that doesn't match your ductwork.
Right.
And it makes a lot of noise, and that fan motor is likely to burn up because it's oversized to your ductwork. But you don't really need bigger ductwork because your ductwork is a good match to the load on your house. We hate seeing people replace brand new equipment, but a lot of times they have to because there's not really another good choice.
Got it.
So something to that effect.
By the way, I like this comment from Ryan Kerr. Is warranty important to you? Would it be preferred to limit the chances of breakdowns? New systems aren't like old systems, so it's a good thing to add in there.
Mm-hmm.
And would it be worth kind of talking about going back to, the whole dilemma of sending the quote later and, basically giving them time to make a decision versus what, there's a lot of coaches, businesses out there who their intent is, I want to show up to their door and I want to close right then and there. And I mean, I've even had people to tell me that, you better get the close now, because if someone like me comes behind you and you just leave them a quote, well, I'm going to be the one to take the deal. So is it kind of worth talking about that? And that I feel like a lot of people are going to have that.
I like that you've brought that up, because a lot of you guys have been reporting that sales are coming back 6, 12, 18 months later, which is very unusual for this industry, because in this industry, if you don't make the sale within a week, generally you call it dead.
Can I add quickly, you guys? Would it be helpful at all for you guys to hear from Victoria, especially, and or me about?
Yeah, let's debrief Victoria. What did you think of the process?
It definitely took a long time, and some of it seemed like, I don't know. It seemed like it took a while to really go over some of the questions. I guess, I don't know if there's a way to make it more zippy or interesting or something. A lot of people have very short attention spans these days. Yeah. One thing I was thinking about, though, about the whole closing cell pressure thing, if I have it in mind that I'm going to get 3 quotes before I make any decisions, and not just go for the cheapest one, but at least make sure that the first guy that was well recommended isn't ripping me off or something, and that it's reasonable compared to the other guys, the hard sell is going to be especially bad, because if I have it in mind, I'm getting 3 quotes before I decide anything, and then like one of those guys is like, bye, I'm going to be like, well, no thanks, I'll go with one of the other 2. You
Or
know? Not all
still
people
get
are
3
like that,
quotes
though.
on
Not
top
all
of.
people are like that, though.
Yeah.
So it might be we're doing this virtually, right? Which could attribute to some of why it feels like it takes long. When you're there in person.
Yeah, in person is probably less of a slog.
Yeah. Well, so Jeff says he consistently runs through the questions in 15 to 20 minutes.
Okay.
So, and we also did the comfort quiz, which that took
Yeah.
some time at the beginning,
Yeah.
where normally it just dive into the questions and go from there. But the
So
challenge
we would have
is
done
always
those comfort quiz things in advance of really showing up there.
Yeah, and I think that would have definitely helped a lot, doing it in advance. I guess it would only be a problem for people who are too lazy to even do that much.
yeah, it's funny. They end up going slower by skipping that step.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
it doesn't have to take that long. So we got some good comments coming in. Let's see here. So heating, cooling system or services is saying homeowners look at you look at you like you have 3 eyeballs when you mention static pressure. Yeah, static pressure is a bad word to use because you have to explain it. It's like telling a joke and then having to explain the entire punchline. Like nobody enjoyed that. That sucked.
Yeah.
I think if you said air pressure, most people would get that because they've been on airplanes before.
Mhm.
You know?
It's all about the
it's duct
buzzwords.
pressure. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's a challenge. So Jeff made the suggestion of duct pressure. That seems to work pretty well for him.
That's a thing that's in Sandler that he talks about, avoiding buzzwords, because there's always that scenario where you're talking to somebody and that person will start to use words that's more industry lingo, and they insinuate that you understand what they mean, and in doing so that makes the other person feel very uneasy, and an uneasy person is not someone that wants to buy from you. And so it can be an immediate turnoff and you'll never know it. So that's why using, instead of saying static pressure, saying duct pressure is a way to avoid a buzzword, but still get that point across and to still ask those questions.
So did that video make sense to you at all, Victoria?
Which one? There were 2.
The duct pressure video.
Oh, that one? I think so, yeah. I mean, I already was a little familiar with the concept because this guy tells me things.
You get to listen to it. Yeah.
It's harder when you're role playing and it's not an experience that you're in.
Yeah.
Right. And you don't have any pain or any actual decisions you're making, for sure.
And you're trying to come up with something to say that sounds reasonable. You're like, oh, what do I say?
Yeah. Because the whole duct pressure thing, when you're faced with a $10,000 to $20,000 expense, it ends up being a little bit more scary. Particularly if your equipment already seems to make a lot of noise. Because if it's making a lot of noise, it suggests that the fan is oversized to the ductwork already.
If it were up to, I mean, if this was an actual system, which it isn't, I would have $50 didn't seem like a lot of money to do the test. But I think when we set up the scenario, we talked about saying no to duct pressure just to keep it interesting, see what happens.
Yes. Yep. No, I thought it was great. It was great to do that.
So
can
Victoria,
I ask a question to Victoria, actually? So did you, how did you feel about the fact that they asked, the Reedie asked us a bunch of questions instead of showing us, oh, here's our latest model with, reverse polarities and stuff, and instead wanted to know exactly what our pain was and problems were and stuff?
It's definitely a good start, I think, because really there's no point in fixing things we don't think are problems. If we don't think it's a problem, then why bother fixing it and spending money on it, right? So, yeah.
So
Victoria, too bad you guys can't do heated flooring with ductwork.
Right.
Victoria, how did you feel about in the first video, the duct pressure video, how did you feel about the 2019 federal mandate? Did that mean anything to you?
I mean,
Made it sound official.
it did. I mean, we're Canadian, so then it didn't
Oh,
matter.
what I mean is,
Yeah.
because it seemed like when we were going through that, it seemed like that what your response was, well, the inspector said we just needed to change it because it was old, and it, he didn't mention anything about the duct pressure. And I was just curious because nobody would mention anything about the duct pressure. And I just wanted to know if that 2019 meant anything to you, because it seemed like it didn't, and I don't know if I could have been a little bit more.
I mean, we were kind of just going off the notes that said, like, the story.
Oh yeah, okay.
It didn't seem like it was it was something that warranted our attention, if I'm being honest. That these were like mandates coming down or something like that. It just seemed like here's the bad stuff that can happen. Here's why you need to adjust the duct pressure. So I don't think we caught on to that federal regulation thing or
Not really.
understood the significance or the importance of it.
Yeah, because the reality of it is, and I'm just trying to think of a way to say that all motors that are in HVAC systems have to be EC motors. They have to be that way. And I think that Nate did an excellent job in the video. I'm not saying that. That's not what I mean.
No,
I think
we can
that it
do a
might-
revision.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out if it needed to be stated a different way from the guy who's doing the talking. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wouldn't base it off of just our reaction, really. But if you're getting that from a lot of people that you're talking to, then it might be worth thinking about for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe show it
Okay.
to a bunch of random people and see what they think, and get like an informal poll going.
One
I
of
think
the
I'm going to
things,
do just that.
thank you guys for doing this. One of the things that occurs to me is I think we need to do role playing on free quote, like we did with role play for the comfort console.
You mean internally for us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that we sort of kicked this thing out there and we've never really practiced it on each other.
On each other, yeah.
Yeah.
And
But
and
if it
Go ahead.
sounded good, what that means is that what we read, anybody can do it, because all I did was read.
well, that's actually I love it that you're saying that. It's basically not a whole lot of training is needed to be able to just sign up for an account and go out and do free quotes.
Actually, Nate, can you go back to the screen, because you even turned off the hints, right? Because usually there's hints in here as well, so which not only helps you with the asking the questions as a contractor, but it also gives you sets the context up for why you're asking these things and what you're looking for, kind of thing.
Yes, this is a key thing, because we did our best to write this for newbies, where newbies can be successful. So you can go right along for a week or two and then get sent out to go sell. Is there someplace comfortable we can sit down for a few minutes? Hint, you're taking control here. Don't let them drag you around the house. All of us have done that. You don't sell it and it takes freaking forever. That's usually what happens. You got to take control.
They start telling you about their grandkids.
Yes.
Oh,
And they got
people will tell you
25
their
of
life
them.
story.
Yes. Actually, I just saw a post today where a guy said, met a sweet old lady, and she was trying to give away everything, and it was a picture of a cuckoo clock. I took it just so I could get the hell out of there. And I know I've had those. So the rest of the hint is, if they obviously want to lead you around, ask to go to the thermostat first, and then ask to sit down, because that will usually satisfy them to at least they kind of halfway get there. And then if something triggers you to go into solution or hero mode, like looking at the equipment, make sure you avoid it until later in the process. So there's just a bunch of almost every question has a hint here that we wrote on purpose, trying to help out the newbies. So Yeah, it's good point, Abhi. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, those
'Cause
hints
we,
look good.
we left them turned off because it makes it quite a bit longer. Like this looks brutal. But you can get through the thing in 15 or 20 minutes if you don't have to do the comfort quiz. So
And so physically, when you're in the room, I imagine you have like an iPad and only you're looking at the screen, right? And then you pass it to them when you have the video loaded up, and then you take it back.
exactly. Yep.
Got
Yeah, that's the idea.
Very cool. Thanks, hon.
No
That was
worries.
fantastic,
Yeah, you guys.
Victoria. I'd say it was nice to finally meet you, because I think I've bumped into you like once or twice briefly, but like you've been like hi and you keep walking through. So
Yeah. My wife is Canadian. She goes to another school.
You know, for a little while, I was the mythical Canadian girlfriend while he was still in the States.
well, there you go. So
Now next week, I expect you guys to buy something from me. I'm just saying.
I don't know. It doesn't include
Right.
you, of course.
so yeah, so next week we'll actually go build the quote in here.
Okay.
And then Abhi, if you can come back, we'll deliver it to you.
All
Victoria,
right.
you're welcome to come too. We'd love to hear your feedback as well, but no
If
pressure.
I've got time, yeah, we'll see.
That works. And there's a couple of other comments coming in here that I like. So Rich Zamora said, I think the biggest difference is a good, better, best guy doesn't show why each system is needed. I fully agree. It's like, well, it's more efficient. And like, it usually means 25 or $50 a year. It doesn't matter. It's an easy
Yeah.
sell when they have a micro understanding and you provide your evidence. So yeah, that's what we're trying to do, is set up the difference between the equipment and then show what the different equipment is.
We've gone over time, but can I ask one more question? Sorry.
Yeah. We always go over time, Abhi. I'm not that worried about it.
Yeah,
It's
no
basically
worries.
long form.
So, Reedie, when I said to you that you came very well recommended, and our neighbor, told you'd be the person to call, I know that came pretty late in the process. But does that, or if hearing that in maybe in the beginning or in the middle or in the end, does that change anything at all about how you would approach the situation?
No, it doesn't, because I don't know if you're just saying that, to try and curry favor
Yeah.
or anything. So the best thing to do, I think that I answered in this way, was I appreciate you saying that. That's very nice, or something like that. But it doesn't change the way. If I was unscrupulous, yeah,
Yep.
it would. It
Mm,
definitely would.
yep. Thanks.
But because I'm a super awesome guy, it doesn't matter to me.
You're going
Right
to pay
on.
full retail whether you try and brown nose them or not.
Yeah, and you have a nice process, right? So why would you deviate from a process that's been working for you?
Right.
Cool. Thanks, folks.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you everyone for coming tonight. So next week we'll dive into how to build the report, and then what it looks like. So the 6 functions and the duct pressure that we've set up in the 4 questions, and also likely load range. You give them an idea that there's quite a bit of fudge in load calculations. It's oftentimes plus or minus a ton or 2, sometimes 3 in northern climates. Next week we'll go through that side of things. But for this week, thank you everyone for coming. The nice comments. There's a bunch of good stuff. So Victoria, you got some props there. There were 2 nice things about Reedie, wherever I'm trying to figure that out. So here we are. Reedie did a great job. From Heating and Cooling Services. And then Austin Inman said it was nice seeing how Reedie navigated the difference in answers from Abhi and Victoria. Because, that is a challenge. Like I said, my cousin and his wife, like 2 and 9, I'm like, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? So I had to come up with what my strategy was at that point. 3 different questions. Like, how can you guys be that different on 3 different things? It just kind of messed with my mind.
And
But,
that's why it's good to have both the people here, right? Because it could be completely different who you.
Yes.
end up getting.
Yeah. 2-leggers, as it's known, having both clients there, both spouses, both partners.
Yeah.
It makes a huge difference. And then also, if if you two have met Reedie,
Mhm.
it's not like Abhi, you're not trying to talk her into it. And Victoria, if you were the one there for the quote, you're not trying to talk him into it. It's like, yeah, I really like that guy. Let's just do it.
Mm.
So
Right.
two-leggers are by far the best, where you have both spouses there. You don't always get it,
Yep.
but you always want to ask for it.
Well, a lot of times one person will tell you something about the house and the way it performs that the other person is completely oblivious to. And that one little thing ends up keying you into, oh, I'm going to want to get this size equipment, or I'm going to want multi-stage so that problem, the whole proofing bread in the kitchen during the wintertime. Like if the kitchen's too cold, you're not going to be making homemade bread.
Nope.
And so if you can solve the kitchen problem, then you get the job and get the happy client afterwards.
And understand what it is, and also connect the dots. So like when you get to showing the good, better, best, you can suggest, well, so the better is fairly likely to tackle, the cold floors that you mentioned, or whatever. You can connect the dots between the one thing. So you're looking for that emotional point, if you can find it. Or, I mean, for you guys, I think, Abhi, it would be your parents coming.
Right.
Because how much did you play that up, Victoria, on the health and safety side?
Mostly played it up. Our parents are very strong, like horses.
So that would be,
I'm making my mom weed.
like, also, we're going to want fresh filtered air and control the relative humidity in that in-law suite.
Right.
So that during hay fever season and all the rest, that they're well looked after.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to be putting basic equipment down there for them.
Right.
But knowing that your parents are from India, they deal with some pretty awful air quality all the time.
They do. It's probably anything's an improvement coming here.
Right. I've been to India. Woo-hoo, man. So the sun's just like this orb in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely pretty intense. I love the country, but if you're looking for clean air, that is not the place to go.
Yeah.
It's a shout out to Larry Waters here from Rich Zamora. Mr. Waters asked me to electrify responsibly. So yeah, there you go. Oh, Tim, that's funny. Tim Nahr said, showing pictures of my kids has helped me close a few jobs. So
that's funny.
A lot of this goes back to heating cooling services comment too. The biggest difference is that you're showing that you care about their issues rather than the competition just trying to make a sale. That's the goal. And so if it wasn't a role play, you would probably have appreciated the time asking the questions more. Yeah. Where it felt longer in this case because you're not up against a $10,000 to $30,000 expenditure that you just honestly don't know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Right, and I think some of the feedback I've been getting on Free Quote is some people are truly like 18 is kind of a place where this might have been a little bit borderline as far as long, but some people are like a 6 on the comfort quiz, and if they're a 6, you better blaze through this.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
But on the other hand, if they're a 30, then you want to take your time, because the next thing is you're going to give them the Free Quote report, and I think you're going to poke at that 30 and say, there's a lot of uncertainty here around the size of the equipment and this and that and your comfort issues. So don't forget, the comfort consult will help us narrow in on the causes and probably dial in tighter solutions.
And a part of what we're trying to do with the role playing here is also to just walk you through every single question, right? If we were doing this in person, I imagine Reedie would pick up on, let's say, my body language or her body language, saying one of us is like bored or tired, and we would just adjust accordingly instead of having to walk through every single question on the list. So
Mhm.
Exactly. But man, thank you, you two, for doing this.
Thank you.
No, thanks for having us.
It's everybody's like, Nate, you be the homeowner. I'm like, I want to watch for a change.
Yeah, it was really good having you guys. Well, particularly Victoria.
Thank you, Victoria.
Yeah.
Man,
thank
the
you.
two liker
You-
was really nice.
she can do the show from next week onwards.
I'll do them all.
Yeah.
All
Next
right.
time you get a difficult customer who's very picky.
We could do that. We could do that. All right.
All right.
Well,
After
everyone-
party.
Yep.
After party.
So
See you guys.
next week, everyone, we'll
Hey,
dive
Abhi, are
into
you
building.
coming or did you have a 10 o'clock?
I'll pop in for real quick and then I gotta run.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got something going on. So
Thank
All right.
everybody.
thank
See
you,
you guys.
everyone, for coming. We'll see you next week.
Thank you guys. See you later.
See y'all.
See y'all.